Well, on to the 1930s, and on to Harley Earl, where we are now adopting an idea that is even larger than human-centered design. Well, I mean, it's a larger iteration of human-centered design, Michael.
Well, it raises the question of just what the human is and how it's expanding.
And now we're talking about going beyond just the physical artifact, the physical embodiment of automobile, but we're now talking about lifestyle, about the life that you want, about what's involved with owning a car and who that makes you, and where you want to be in this world that we have. And what he was doing at the time actually stretched all the way to some of the early work right at the end of the 1930s you may be familiar with, which is the GM Futureliners. The GM Futureliners. The GM Futureliners, as one of our colleagues recently did an extended amount of research that we helped out on, and in going back through the GM archives, sort of identified a line of thinking that was going on. And that line of thinking was not only how do we make these cars more beautiful, more lower to the ground, to project this modernity, but also how can we shape America's idea about how they'll use it? How can we encourage them to move to suburbs, to unearth a farm past, to encourage living outside of the city and enjoying an automobile to run to and fro to work and to town? And how can we think about how this will impact us? So the Futureliners at the time put on a show, and one of in fact, the only artifact that remains from that show is this particular artifact that shows mechanically, very complicated ways, essentially this flipping over of the farm town and moving into suburbia. So the whole thinking, Michael, was going towards this idea of us taking what we had as farmland, using that for our living environment, and adopting the automobile because we could, and because this was, after all, the business of the auto manufacturers. Michael.
And as you've rightly flagged up, Mark, it's so much more than the vehicle. It's lifestyle, it's aspiration, it's hopes, and it's putting it all together where the car is, the automobile is and has been for so long, embedded. Embedded in everyday life in every different way. And one of the things that we certainly want to flag up in all of this is that matter, that whole field of human experience. And what is it? How do we get our heads around that? We kind of all know what it is, and especially in relationship to automobiles, because they offer all sorts of different kinds of elaboration or enhancement of everyday life, everyday human experiences. One of the key things that we're facing now, of course, is an expansion of the possibilities offered by the automobile in terms exactly of human experience. But as a way of elaborating that and expanding on that, at this point, we were going to introduce to you all Sam Chalace from Google. But we couldn't get him on stage because Google, it would seem, were a little bit concerned about some of the issues that we're raising. Google, their CEO, has of late signaled that the company, and we all know the company, is a company focused upon artificial intelligence. Yeah, Google deals in data. It delivers data to us in different ways, and of course, it manipulates, it uses data, information, processes data into information as a way, as they put it, of providing tools to help people do what they want to do. And that's great. But what I want to flag up is precisely the issue of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is, of course, what is lying behind all of this massive interest and investment, the energy that's being put into the autonomous vehicle, the robot vehicle. Stuart just raised an issue about machinery. You've just been talking, Mark, about how the automobile is not just machinery, never has been. These machines, if we insist on calling them that, have always been embedded in life. We have had relationships with them, and those relationships are beginning to change because the automobile is becoming smart, and we hear about smart technologies all the time. And data and information drive that smartness, but also, well, what? Intelligence, yeah. But what is intelligence in an automobile? Is it something different to what we do, the way we think? Surely, one of our experiences at the moment is how intelligent machinery is all around us and is completely integrated into our everyday lives. And every one of you will be sitting, I'm sure, with at least one smartphone on their person at the moment, which connects you. It is your virtual, well, sometimes your real mobility. You can reach out and connect. You are mobile through your mobile device, and it's not just a piece of machinery, it's an extension of you. And we're going to see that, of course, happen with the automobile. But what does that make them? Are they robots? Are robots this science fiction part of the future? Is that what we're going to be seeing? Are they going to remain so separate from us? The issue in the design field, precisely therefore, is how do you design relationships with smart machines? And does that mean that they are actually going to be more like people than machines? When, bear in mind, the history of the automobile has been about relationships with machinery which kind of dissolve the distinctions. They are you. They're part of your life intimately. That's going to get even more intimate. Think then of the human experience of getting on with robots. That is what we're facing in the future. How do we engineer relationships with robots in terms of human experience? So what is the human experience? Cognition. We perceive and we process information. Yep, and that is going to be, it is already seamless with the world that gets called machinery. They're already together. We are already and have for a long time been cyborgs, dependent upon, intimately connected to data processing machinery. Cognition. Relationships themselves. We've been intimate in relationships with machinery, with artifacts, frankly, for as long as we've been human. I'm an archaeologist. I've got a big long-term picture on human history, and I can tell you, for as long as we've been human, we've been connected to stuff, to things, to artifacts, to architectures. That material world makes us who we are. And now we're moving into new opportunities for designing relationships which will enrich us. Think of what Ed was just telling us and sharing with us earlier about the colossal, the wonderful creative opportunities for designing, enriching, fascinating, empowering relationships that involve, automobiles. Values. There's another key component of human experience, how we evaluate the world around us. Absolutely, we like some things, we don't like other things. Some things are better, some things are worse. Absolutely, this is the heart of human experience and is involving what we call robots. Will do even more. And the other component, perhaps, of human experience, cognition, relationships, values, emotion. And I don't think we need to say very much at all there about the emotional relationships people establish with stuff in their lives. It's not just sentimental value. It is absolutely at the core of who we are, and how we experience the world, emotion, feeling, the senses, and the complete range of the senses. So if we're looking at the design of artificially intelligent robot artifacts, first of all, let's remember that's been going on a long time. And here's something else. The challenge is to accept, to acknowledge that the distinction, the radical distinction between people and things is really not as radical as is sometimes held. It's fuzzy. Sometimes things are intimately part of our lives, such that they are almost as human as we are. And that is what we're going to see with the development of the autonomous, artificially intelligent automobile, they're going to be even more part of human life. The distinction between the machine and the human is dissolving, as it has been doing so really for quite a while.